Why George Russell prefers flexibility over a long-term Mercedes contract. F1 2025-2026. Why George Russell isn't seeking a long-term F1 contract with Mercedes. In a surprising twist, George Russell has expressed that he does not feel the need for long-term security as he prepares to negotiate a renewal of his Formula One contract with Mercedes, which is set to expire at the end of 2025. This statement comes at a time when Max Verstappen has publicly confirmed his commitment to Red Bull for the 2026 season, effectively quelling ongoing rumors about a potential switch to Mercedes. With this development, the responsibility now lies with Mercedes to finalize new contracts for both Russell and rising star Andrea Kimi Antonelli, a process anticipated to unfold during the summer break. For Antonelli, who is still finding his footing in the competitive world of F1, securing a new contract during a challenging phase could serve as a significant morale boost. It would not only affirm Mercedes' support for the soon-to-be 19-year-old talent, but also provide him with the necessary backing as he prepares for the crucial regulatory changes coming in 2026. While both Russell and Antonelli are managed by Mercedes, their situations are markedly different. Russell, now in his 7th season and feeling that he is experiencing his most consistent performance yet at the age of 27, would typically be expected to secure a long-term deal reflecting his value to the team. Such a contract would solidify his position as the lead driver for Mercedes as they aim to regain their championship-winning form, having last claimed the title in 2021. However, similar to Verstappen, who is keeping his options open for 2027 and beyond with potential exit clauses coming into play next summer, Russell seems unconcerned about long-term stability. Instead, he values flexibility in his career decisions. My main priority is to have a car capable of winning the World Championship, and I want that to be with Mercedes. That is my top priority, Russell stated in an interview with Motorsport.com ahead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. He elaborated, "I believe that drivers who pursue long-term contracts often feel they need that security. Personally, I have never had a long-term deal, and I don't feel the need for one. Performance should always be the focus. And if I'm not delivering, the team shouldn't be obligated to keep me. It's as straightforward as that." This perspective also implies that he desires the flexibility to explore other options if Mercedes fails to meet expectations. "It should be a two-way street," he acknowledged. "However, I'm not actively pursuing anything at the moment, nor have I been in a position to do so." Reflecting on his future during a recent media session, Russell admitted that for the first time, his interests and those of Mercedes have been somewhat misaligned, particularly as the team considered the possibility of acquiring Verstappen. When asked if the current situation indicated that he should take control of his future, he replied, "Throughout my career until last year, the team has been incredibly supportive, providing me with fantastic opportunities. Our goals have always been in sync, and what benefits the team has also benefited me." He continued, "These past 6 months have been unique, where I haven't had significant leverage in negotiations, and perhaps our interests diverged for a while. This has put me in a precarious position, but it has been my responsibility to perform and mitigate that risk," Russell concluded. "Honestly, I don't wish for it to escalate to that level. I still have faith in Toto Wolff and the team, believing they will support me as long as I continue to perform. That's where my focus needs to be. However, it's true that the last few months have not provided the most reassuring outlook for either Kimi or myself, leading to some conflicting feelings. Or is flexibility the key to success in such a dynamic sport? What are your thoughts on Russell's approach? Do you agree with his perspective? Or do you think he should seek a more secure long-term deal? Share your opinions in the comments. George Russell admits feeling at risk during Mercedes-Verstappen chase. F1 contract drama. George Russell's public admission reveals hidden tensions behind Verstappen's Mercedes talks. What happens when your employer seriously considers replacing you with a rival superstar? George Russell knows. The Mercedes F1 driver recently acknowledged that his team's speculative negotiations with Max Verstappen about joining in 2026 created unprecedented personal and professional challenges. Verstappen's commanding 28-point advantage, including a lead over Russell, ensured his Red Bull contract break clause won't trigger before the summer break. With his 2026 Red Bull seat confirmed, he emphatically declared, "I think it's time to stop all the rumors. I always intended to stay, but it's good to finally put this to rest." This outcome leaves Mercedes likely retaining Russell and young protege Kimi Antonelli, both currently on deals ending in 2025. Russell had previously downplayed concerns about his security, framing the situation as normal team strategy. However, recent comments reveal underlying friction. At the Hungarian Grand Prix Media Day, Russell admitted that these last 6 months have been unique and put me at risk due to conflicting interests between drivers and team management. He emphasized maintaining performance as his primary strategy. "The fact is, I can't control contracts. My job is to perform and reduce that risk." But here's where tensions surface. Russell and Antonelli found themselves in the peculiar position of having their careers managed by a team that actively explored replacing one of them with Verstappen. Russell described this as conflicting and raised questions about whether more independent representation would help avoid similar situations in the future. The Verstappen-Mercedes saga may dominate headlines, but let's zoom in on what often goes undiscussed. 1. Contract clause complexities. While Verstappen's lead prevents triggering his exit clause, how often do these contractual fine details overshadow driver loyalty in F1? 2. Management dynamics. Should drivers like Russell require more autonomous advisors when their team's interests shift? 3. Future implications. With Mercedes potentially targeting Verstappen for 2027 if opportunities arise, how will Russell navigate similar uncertainties next season? And here's the rub. While Russell stresses that the only thing I care about is winning, avoiding repeat situational awkwardness likely requires clearer long-term commitments. He hinted at upcoming negotiations. What's in the interest of both parties? I want to win more than anything. But here's the million-dollar question. Should teams prioritize nurturing current talent over chasing star drivers like Verstappen? Let us know in the comments. Do you believe loyalty or winning is more important in F1 strategy? George Russell on F1 contract talks, Mercedes' influence and future uncertainty. Imagine being in a high-stakes poker game where the house always seems to have the upper hand. That's precisely the situation George Russell finds himself in with Mercedes during his contract negotiations for the upcoming season. In a candid admission, Russell acknowledges that Mercedes holds the cards, making the past few months a roller coaster of emotions as he awaits news on his future. Currently without a contract for 2026. Russell's position at Mercedes has been shrouded in uncertainty. Team principal Toto Wolff has been quite open about the team's interest in potentially signing Max Verstappen down the line. However, Verstappen's recent confirmation that he will stay with Red Bull for 2026 has paved the way for an expected contract renewal between Russell and Mercedes in the near future. But here's where it gets controversial. Russell is directly managed by Mercedes, which signed him as a junior driver back in 2017 and funded his championship-winning seasons in F1's feeder series. This unique arrangement leaves him with limited influence over the timing of his next contract. They ultimately hold the cards because of our management agreement, Russell explained. There's no rush to sign Kimi Antonelli, his teammate, or me due to our long-term deal. Despite the uncertainty, Russell remains confident. "I've never feared losing my seat," he asserts. Even though the media likes to sensationalize it, it's never been a real threat. He admits to feeling more anxious a year ago, but now, with his performance at its peak, he believes he has more to offer. "I've waited long enough," he says. "I just want to get through this weekend, enjoy my holiday next week, and take a break." There's no rush from either side. When we reach an agreement, it will be the right decision for both parties. The unusual dynamic of being managed by the team he drives for puts Russell in a potentially vulnerable position if Verstappen becomes available again. While Mercedes has been instrumental in his career, Russell admits that the past 6 months have been risky as the team explored other options. "Until last year, the team's support was unwavering, and our goals were aligned," he reflects. "But these last 6 months have been different, with my power in the agreement diminished and our interests sometimes diverging. It's been a bit conflicting, but my job is to perform and mitigate that risk." Russell remains trusting of Toto Wolff and the team, focusing on his performance. However, he acknowledges that the past months have been unsettling for both him and Antonelli. When asked about the nature of his potential new contract, Russell pondered, "We need to consider what's best for both sides. What do I want, and what does Mercedes want? The last 6 months have been unique, but my primary goal is to win. That's what matters most to me, more than money or sponsorship days." And this is the part most people miss. Is a multi-year deal in the works, or will Mercedes opt for a single-year contract, keeping the door open for Verstappen in 2027? What do you think is the best move for Russell and Mercedes? Share your thoughts in the comments.